Let me say this. Do I believe this is true? More than likely. Do I believe he's the only one doing it? Not at all. Which is why I'm completely indifferent if it did come to fruition that LeBron James was on some sort of PEDs or steroids, whatever the case may be, just like I am with baseball. Because when you talk about these things, especially this in sports, when you look at the MLB at that time period, I consider the fact that a majority of the players were doing it, along with obviously the superstars. And I'm taking the same thing into account when I talk about LeBron James and steroids. But all that aside, let's get into it. All I have right now is just inklings of information that might insinuate he is on them. So let's just present the information and you can come to your own conclusion. Now, I know a lot of people like to contribute to the fact LeBron James' hair loss, but for me, that's inconsequential. You look at Jordan, he lost his hair about the same time. Same thing with Kobe. A lot of the NBA players seem to lose their hair early on in their career, get gray hairs a lot earlier than you expect. But the first thing that caught my eye is that in 2009, LeBron had to surgically remove a growth on his jaw, which in my interpretation is questionable. But as I said, this isn't really conclusive, so there's really no definitive proof to understand what symptoms he would be having, because we don't even know what particular PEDs he's hypothetically using. So that's another symptom that gave me questions, but nonetheless really doesn't provide any context. But the one that definitely raised my eyebrows and really gave me inspiration to start venturing back and do some research was the recent article, I want to say written by Brian Windhorst, where he says it was documented that LeBron James in 2014 in the Eastern Conference Finals started the game at 271 pounds and by the end finished at 278. Now, I don't know scientifically how you could even explain that or how that even be possible. Now, this seems like folklore, especially when you first read it, but it's been verified not only by media members, but Miami Heat medical staff have also verified that this actually happened. And in the following offseason, he obviously decided to go back to Cleveland. And this is when the media was highly publicizing his weight loss. He was quote unquote on a new diet, which all was ironically enough around the same time it was being documented that Chris Paul is going to be vehemently fighting against the HGH testing policy in the NBA. Now, not only that, here's a picture of what LeBron was looking like when the season started versus what he looked like in the finals, and easily the most questionable period of his career that will probably be forgotten when it's all said and done. But it was that 2-week period where he left the Cleveland Cavaliers after he was supposedly dealing with injuries, physical fatigue, and he was in Miami for 2 weeks. And after that 2-week quote-unquote vacation, he was looking like a new player altogether. Now, why is it questionable that he went to Miami? Well, because supposedly his initials, like I said, so it wasn't his name, were on the biogenesis ledger that was released in 2013, where a handful of MLB players were completely outed for their HGH and PED usage. But believe it or not, there was a handful of other NBA players' initials who were supposedly on this list. And the story goes like this. An IBN writer did an interview with this woman named Jessica, an employee of Anthony Bosch, whose last name I'm assuming is anonymous, so her identity is not fully outed. But she worked as an assistant to him to keep track of all the financial transfers. But as I said, there was nothing but initials on most of the list, and she came across the initials LJ, and it was within her belief that it was the NBA superstar, and he was on the Miami Heat at the time, LeBron James. And her reason to believe it was LeBron is because there was a man by the name of Mr. Paul who came in every month to pick up products for the initials LJ, and if we're to connect those dots there, that would be Rich Paul, otherwise known as LeBron's agent, and one of the people he grew up with in Akron, Ohio. But that's where the conspiracy ends. That's where the tinfoil hat has to get put down. But those are pretty questionable circumstances. And last but not least, George Karl in his book Furious George also talks about the rampant steroid problem in the NBA, as he would go on to say, "We've got a more thorough drug testing program than the NFL or MLB, which we always brag about, but we've still got a drug issue, though a different one than 30 years ago. And this one bothers me more than the dumbasses who got in trouble with recreational drugs. I'm talking about performance-enhancing drugs like steroids, human growth hormone, and so on. It's obvious some of our players are doping. How are some guys getting older, yet thinner and fitter? How are they recovering from injuries so fast? Why the hell are they going to Germany in the off-season? I doubt it's for the sauerkraut. More likely it's for the newest, hard-to-detect blood boosters and PEDs they have in Europe. Unfortunately, drug testing always seems to be a couple steps behind drug hiding. Lance Armstrong never failed the drug test. I think we want the best athletes to succeed, not the biggest, richest cheaters employing the best scientists. But I don't know what to do about it." Now, through that little quote right there from his book, the portion about Germany is definitely a shot at Kobe Bryant, as Kobe had seemed every offseason. Beginning in 2010, he would go to Germany for whatever reason and spend most of his off-season training, workouts, whatever the case may be, out there. And that's what George Karl seems to be alluding through there. The portion about players getting older, yet performing at such a high level, can really be attributed to LeBron James in the 2018 NBA season. How many times have we heard this year? It's his 15th year. It's his 15th year. He's playing the best he's ever played. He's playing the best he's ever played. And yet, it's never come to question why that is or why that's even a possibility. Now, I know a lot of people like to mention that he's only 33 years old, but the age isn't really the determining factor. It's more so the mileage and the amount of minutes and the long seasons that LeBron's been playing since 2011. Let's keep in mind, LeBron has had long playoff runs from 2011 up until this point. 7 finals appearances, all within the fact that he played in multiple Olympics in that time period as well. The amount of mileage on LeBron's body has to be astronomical, regardless of his age. And you have to also keep in the fact that he hasn't sustained one injury throughout that time. And I don't want it to sound like it's a foregone conclusion, but there are many nuggets to this conspiracy. And I'm not the only one who's pieced these together. I'm going to pull up a snippet from Bill Simmons as he talks about LeBron's vacation in Miami. Here's another one from Stephen A. Smith.
It does raise an eyebrow that he gets better as everyone gets worse. I'll leave it at that.
Okay then.
But as I said, this is becoming a growing question within a lot of NBA fans, NBA watchers, NBA analysts, whatever the case may be. But in my honest opinion, I think this is going to go down as one of the conspiracies of LeBron's career. Kind of like Jordan with the gambling issue, his retirement, the flu game, his father's death. This will go down in that compartment of LeBron's conspiracies, along with the Delonte West rumors. But let me know what you think. Is it ridiculous to even bring this up? Is there a possibility that this is true? If it was, would it change your opinion about LeBron or any player that uses it? Comment and let me know. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button if you like videos of this kind, this nature. But with all that being said, I'll catch y'all in the future.